Hi guys, remember the red color correction part 1? Well, I'm back with my girl Ginny. Her funds are up and we're ready to really tackle this session number 2. And I'm going to teach you guys how to really go in and pack those foils in with my Sinful technique and knock through any of this old red that we want out of there finally and get her to a beautiful evened out color. Keep watching if you want to see how I do it. Alright, so first things first, we're going to mix up our lightening powder. I'm using Joico Blonde Life with 20 volume and a 1/16 ounce of Olaplex. And I'm going to go in and we're just going to start packing these foils in back to back to back to back. So I'm using one of my favorite Sinful Blonde full foiling placements. This is where I go up the back and I literally brick lay, 3 in the middle, 3 on the left, 3 on the right, and I do round with the corner of the head. This, I find, placement-wise, over the last 4 years of my career, has really been amazing because it really rolls with the round of the head. Because at the end of the day, the head is round. So if we're going straight up, it just doesn't move with the head the right way. So in my trial and error of different placements, I find this is one of my favorites. Now that I'm thinking about it as I'm editing this video, I do have about 2 or 3 go-to foil placements that I've done over the last 4 years, trial and errored, and got them really fine-tuned. So if you guys want a video, I can do a video breaking down my 3 favorite partial placements, my 3 favorite half placements, and my 3 favorite full placements. Let me know down below if that's something you'd like to see, because I don't really think I really go over foil placement a lot in my history of almost 300 videos. So when it comes to the Sinful foiling technique, it can be very long, hard, and grueling, but the reward is so worth it, you guys. It's packing those foils in back to back to back, minimal subsection. The only subsection left with my technique is whatever's left out of the stitch. And I have 2 different ways, I said it before in multiple videos, 2 different stitching patterns. I have my dimensional stitch and I have my Sinful stitch. We're doing the Sinful stitch. Reason being, that's usually what I do 90% of the time. It looks like it's literally growing out of the head. So does a dimensional stitch. But with her, we want to kick as much red out as possible. So I do want to kind of make it look more solid-like, where that little bit of dimension falls into the background where we don't really see it. And we are going to be tipping out every single dropout as well. And as I finish each section, I will do that at the same time, just so it goes and processes evenly. Sinful Full Highlight. Yeah. And we're recording a YouTube video, so you guys say hi. Wait and say what's up to the YouTube channel. Alright, so now I want to speak about pricing. First session, if you watched video part 1, I will link it on the card if you haven't. We did a partial. So my partial begins at $200. So that includes everything, the root toner, the toner, the foiling pattern, everything is included. The only way it goes up is extra mixes of lightener after the first one that is included is $20. So it starts at $200. We did a paint between, remember? So we did a paint between in between all the foils. That can count from, just 3 inches at the root all the way to the ends. It depends, it varies, but it will be $75. But we did do 2 different formulas. So 200 plus 75 brings us to $275. Then I added an extra $20 for the second formula for the paint between, which was a different one for the mids and ends. That's $20. That brings us to $295. We did a haircut. That's $40. And the first bowl of lightener was included, but we did end up using 2 extra on her, even though it was a partial, because I really saturated it well. So that brings us another $40, and it ended up being $375 for the first session. And then today's session, we are doing a full. The full starts at $300. And I'm tipping out the ends. I'm doing a lot of back-to-back foil work. We did use a total of 7 bowls. So 7 bowls of a lightener, and that is not including the original mix, which is free, included in the starting price. So let's see, 7 times 20 would be 140. So 300 plus 140 brings us to 440. And then we did do a dust and cut at the end. So her total for this session was 480. That's before tip. So $375 for the first round with the partial, and then $480 for the full. Got to keep in mind though, the first session we did a lot of extra work with the paint between and all that. That's why the price was so high for a partial. But this is the average for somebody who has thick density hair when you're doing that many foils back to back and a lot of extra bowls. And I'm not jipping on the bowls either. I always measure the same amount. It can be a lot more work. They have thinner hair, it's cheaper. Finer hair, cheaper. But if you have more hair, you're going to pay for it. And also, if you're just doing maintenance and touching up an inch of root, you probably only need 1 or 2 mixes. So it's a lot of different variety with pricing depending on what the client needs. But you guys got to make sure you are charging your worth. And we put a lot of time into this. This technique is not easy, but it is worth it. And they can go longer in between sessions, which therefore they end up saving money in the end. So just playing with my handy dandy calculator on my iPhone. So 375 plus 480 is 855. Now you guys know I have 2 different ways of doing things. When clients want to have a correction done, we could do it in different steps like this and just do a session, another session of fulls and halves and partials or whatever they choose. Or we can do it where it's all in one day, where we get a little bit further ahead in one session. I'll go in and I'll do a color remover all over, or a bleach wash all over, and then a big foil, and then we'll do a paint between of all the dropouts or tip out ends and do all this and that. And it's multiple steps in one day. That is a real correction on my menu, and that you have to come in for a consultation before you can book it. It has to be booked through me in person. I do require $500 non-refundable deposit the day we book the appointment at the consultation. And the first beginning starting price is roughly $800, can go up depending on what I'm doing. I have had it start at $800 and it was $800, and I've also had it go up to $2,000. It depends on the seriousness of the situation, the work that goes into it, the hair quality, how much hair, thickness, length, everything, you name it. But you get the whole entire day, a 12-hour session, and that you can either do, that's your option, or you could do it this way and do it in multiple steps with multiple foils. But if you look at it right now, This cost her $855 in 2 sessions in a month, where if we could have possibly quoted her at $800 and did a lot more in 1 session, but I do feel like this is the healthier way, and I suggest clients do it this way. But if people do want to jumpstart a little bit more and get a little bit more ahead to get closer to their goal, I also do recommend doing the in 1 day, multiple step, first round color correction. So she lifted well, very amazing. We have minimal dimension in there, but it's gonna fade into the background. You won't see much red at all. I can't wait till you guys see the final results. This is why I love my technique, packing those foils back to back to back, especially with my Sinful stitch. You do still have dimension and it helps it grow out nice, but you can really do so many different things with this technique and look. You can literally make it look more solid for people who like bleach all over and don't want to do that anymore. You can add the dimensional stitch where there's still dimension, but it still grows out sinfully and nice, like it's against nature because it looks so natural. There's just multiple things you can do, and I really love my technique. This is what I always do. You guys seen in the first session, I didn't do the Sinful technique. I did a traditional highlight on her, and you could just see the difference from the first session, and I will link that on the card, like I said earlier, where there's a lot more of that darkness left in there and just more chunky of a stitch look. And even if I did my Sinful stitch and did really small fine stitching, it still would have kind of gotten lost because the bigger subsections, and I didn't even do them that big like they taught us in school how to do and how a lot of people do them. So wait till you see the final results. I can't wait for you to see it. We did root shadow her with 7N, 7NA. I did a soft shadow on her, and I cannot wait for you guys to see the final results. It came out gorgeous. Alright guys, so this is what it's looking like right now. And I told her earlier, like when you have a lot of orange, which I expected there'd be peachiness a little bit, but it wasn't really peachy. There were some pieces that were already like a level 8, and there was slight pieces that were a 9 where it wanted to, or 7 where it wanted to hold on just a little bit more, but like that's to be expected. I mean, we came really far from the before and after today. What I'm gonna do now, because you can see it's nice and warm, and it kind of like blends and merges with it, and it counteracts that orange and kind of makes it like a nice warm blonde, like a golden blonde. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna mix up 7T, 7P, maybe a little 7NA, and literally flash tone it for like 30 seconds. So it will neutralize it and make it more neutral. So it's not too warm, but it's also not too cool. It's just gonna neutralize it out. But I think it's gonna be beautiful. We did 7N, 7NA on the root. It's all gonna be kind of like one color. And there's really no red left from when we undid the T's. It all fell back into the root area, whatever was left of it. But it's gonna look really good. I know what I'm looking at, so I know what it's gonna look like when it's blow dried, but really, really cool how it's almost really, really even. Like not too much different tones going on. And I'm really like happy with all the foils we did. It was paying off for sure. And her hair feels good. There's not any real hair like came out of her head or nothing like that. All right, so now I'm gonna make that toner, put it on, and I'll show you guys the final results. And just like magic, look how beautiful these final results are. Let me know down below what you think about this video. Leave me video ideas. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one. As always, so long for now, guys.